Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is the banner review for 2.6. I'll be going through every 4-star, every 5-star, and assessing the overall value of the banner depending on the type of player that you are and in more general terms. So first of all, let's go with the first phase. We have Rappa and Imbiber to Lune, and our 4 stars are Lynx, Xueyi, and Yukong. So first of all, let's get into Lynx's value. Now, Lynx is a free character that you get when you clear stage 2 or 3, I believe, of Pure Fiction. And her eidolons are basically just to make her a better sustain and give her some extra defensive capabilities like effect res, increased max HP on, her skill target, and a bunch of other things. So her eidolons are actually fairly decent. The thing is, though, Lynx's value has gone down kind of significantly because of the amount of sustains they pushed out very recently. And as you'll see, they'll also add another, limited sustain in phase 2. So her value just isn't that high because we now have Gallagher. But if you don't have a limited sustain, then Lynx can hold you over. But still, I wouldn't pull this banner just because Lynx is there and you want her eidolons. Second character is Xueyi. Now, Xueyi is actually a very good character. The thing is, though, in these two banners, you are pulling for a DPS. And if you're pulling for Rappa, then you're putting Rappa in a super break team, and Xueyi probably is gonna get benched because of that. If you're pulling Imbiber to Lune, you're probably benching Xueyi because Imbiber to Lune works against most types of elemental weaknesses, and he doesn't have the problems that Xueyi has in terms of finding the right weaknesses, because Xueyi is very niche to quantum weakness, and these two characters aren't as much as she is. So what ends up happening is even if you do get a high idol on Xueyi, you're probably just benching her. And lastly, Yukong. Yukong actually numerically is a very strong character. The problem with Yukong is that she's so extremely hard to play that you would rather just not use her at all. You would probably just even use Hanya instead of her. The thing with her eidolons is that her E6 is fairly important. So if you do go for this banner and you get an E6 Yukong, you will get a significant upgrade to your Yukong if you get her to E6, but you still probably wouldn't use her because she's just that difficult to play and she has multiple anti-synergies because of her skill point hungry nature. In terms of character banners, the 4 stars are not good, especially when you relate them to the DPSs that they're with in question. Now, that's not the end though, because we still have the Lightcone banner, and this Lightcone banner is actually fairly good. We're gonna ignore the abundance again. And the Air Edition Lightcone is actually a good thing to increase the value of the Lightcone banner, because if you do fail on getting Rappa's signature, you'll probably get an S1 after the Charmony Fall, so at least that's a nice consolation prize. And if you're pulling for Imbiber to Lune signature, you can get some copies of Under the Blue Sky, so you wouldn't lose either. So in terms of the weapon banner, it's actually fairly good, but again, you just have to consider that pretty much the only reason that you're gonna be pulling this Lightcone banner is if you're pulling Rappa and Imbiber to Lune, which is most banners, honestly. So the second phase is a lot more interesting. It's Acheron and Aventurine, and the 4 stars are March 7th, Pela, and Sampo. So not looking very good there, and I'll say why. Now, March 7th is the preservation version, is just a weaker character. You probably aren't going to use March at all, especially when Aventurine is on the other banner. Maybe if you don't have pulls enough for Aventurine, but you do have enough pulls for Acheron. But honestly, if you're missing a sustain, then you'd pull Aventurine if you don't have a limited sustain yet over Acheron. So March 7th, not a good character, definitely lowers the value of this banner. But you have the other character, which is Pela. Now, Pela is actually very good for Acheron teams, and in general, she's one of the best Nihility 4 stars. The problem is, she's not very reliant on her eidolons, and she's in the shop. So, you're not gonna get a lot if you're gonna pull a lot of Pelas here. The most you'll probably get is her E4, which is an Ice Res Shred. If you do pull copies of Pela, it's very low value for the type of team that you're probably pulling for, which is an Acheron team. So, sadly, not much else to say about there. And Sampo. Now, Sampo is in a worse case because he's just not very good for Acheron either. Even as E0 Gunaifen is much better than Sampo at E6. The best that you could do with him is make him a Black Swan you know, a downgrade of Black Swan in a Dot Charon team. But yeah, it's not a good look. It only practically is somewhat good in single target, but otherwise it... So even if you pull this banner for some Sampo copies, you're just not gonna get that much. As for the Lightcones, these Lightcones are actually pretty interesting. You have Day 1 of My New Life, a very good Lightcone for Aventurine. So if you do lose the Lightcone banner for Aventurine, you could just get the copies of Day 1 of My New Life if you manage to stumble through it as a consolation prize. So that's good. Then you have Boundless Choreo. Boundless Choreo is an awesome Lightcone for Acheron, because aside from her best in slot, which is her signature, the best free-to-play 4-star option for her if you're running defense down units, which should always be the case, is Boundless Choreo. So very good. If you don't pull her signature, then you at least get a Boundless Choreo on the way there, very likely. And Make the World Clamor Erudition is a really bad Lightcone, so let's just not mention that. So the Lightcone banner, fairly good. The character banner, not good. So overall, if you look at Phase 1, Phase 1 does not have good characters on its 4-star banner, but its Lightcones are very good if you're willing to vertically invest in the featured 5-star characters. Same with the second phase. The 4 stars aren't very good, but the Lightcones are actually very good for the characters that are featured there. If you don't have limited sustain, pull Aventurine, absolutely. Like, there's no other advice there. Like, if you just don't have limited sustain, ignore all these characters, pull Aventurine. Do it. Like, really. It's one of the best investments that you can make. If you do want to vertically invest into Acheron, I don't think you should do it. If you're at E1 and you want to make that final step to E2, then good. But otherwise, if you've already pulled Acheron, I would just pull her signature or something. And these two first phase banners, I just wouldn't pull at all. Honestly, it's gonna get into the Rappa evaluation, which I'm not ready to discuss yet. But if you're a fan of Rappa, then at least the Lightcone banner is good. And if you're pulling Imbiber to Linnae, then the Lightcone banner is good. So there you go. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little review. Do all the algorithm stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know if you're gonna pull on these banners in the comment section below. See ya. Bye bye.